Happy Halloween, everyone. Hang on, my costume is almost complete. Okay, I can't hold those and talk. I was Louise as Edward Scissorhands. As you can tell from these bunny ears, Bob's Burgers is one of my favorite shows ever. And so I have compiled this top 5 Halloween episode playlist just for you, just for Halloween. And this is my first top 5, but I did have a grading rubric. Essentially, I graded these on the plot line. So, does the main plot and subplot work together? And the opportunity for not only adult jokes, kid jokes. I also looked at running gaffes, the burger of the day, that sort of thing, and put it all together to give you the top 5 Bob's Burgers Halloween episodes. Enjoy. Coming in at number 5 from season 7, Tina Witch. This episode focuses on the kids and the annual Halloween costume contest at Wagstaff Elementary. Tina wants to win this year's contest really bad, but when Tammy overhears Tina saying she's going to be a hot mess, in true Tammy fashion, she steals Tina's idea and claims it was her own. So now Tina is left without a creative costume idea. When Tina pleads with Jackie, the crossing guard, Tina gives her a dose of sarcasm, leading to one of my favorite lines in any episode.
I can see two things coming from a mile away, cars and sarcasm.
Crossing guard burn.
The subplot in this episode focuses on the adults and Bob's elaborate jack-o'-lantern that he insists on putting outside the restaurant despite Linda's foreshadowing plea, and we also get the Halloween burger of the day, Munster under the bun. I'll give it a B+. Meanwhile, Tina visits Mr. Ambrose, the librarian played by Billy Eichner and one of my favorite guest stars on Bob's Burgers, to ask him for a book on witches. And Mr. Ambrose tells her to be an actual witch and gives her a book of spells, suggesting that she simply cast a spell to win the contest. Jean and Louise walk in on her. Then Jean delivers one of my favorite lines from the kids.
What a fun way to cheat at a costume contest!
Louise then asked her to cast a few test spells first. So Tina tries out her new powers by casting a spell to get Louise out of her book report and some fish sticks for Jean. But Tina can't close the book without casting a love spell on Jimmy Jr., whose socks she just happens to have in her drawer. As the kids go off to school to see if the spells work, Bob discovers that his carefully carved pumpkin is gone. Outraged, Bob is determined to find out who did it. While this subplot isn't as compelling as some of the other episodes, we get a few pure Bob moments, including blaming Jimmy Pesto for the jack-o'-lantern heist. After the test spells seem to have worked, Tina has a newfound confidence and enters the school the next day in one of the best Tina swagger scenes ever, even walking right up to Jimmy P and asking him out. It's these kinds of scenes where Tina suddenly finds her groove that really make this teenage character believable and keeps the audience on her side and rooting for her all of the way. But, of course, Tina's plan backfires when she struts in front of Jackie and gives her more Tina-tude. And we find out that Jackie is also a witch and takes one of Tina's barrettes, threatening her with her own spell. This leaves Tina spiraling and heading back to the library for help. But Mr. Ambrose doesn't give her the help she's looking for when he reveals that Tina is definitely cursed. This leaves Tina in a tailspin, and she enters the contest dressed as a sandwich. Get it? She even yells at another kid who simply asked if she has a lint roller. But Tina calms down, and of course, she has a lint roller. While the kids don't actually dress up for trick-or-treating in this episode, we get plenty of punny Halloween costumes on the catwalk during the contest, including the Mona Lisa, Jacqueline as Hot Judge Judy, and of course, Tina as a sandwich. What happens next is one of the reasons I included this episode in the top 5, because it showcases the bond between the siblings. As Jean and Louise notice that their sister is struggling on stage, they offer to catch her if she falls off. The Belcher kids are always coming to each other's rescue, and that's one of the reasons I love this show and why it works for audiences of all ages. Tina then has one of her classic come-to-Jesus moments when she admits that she cast a spell to win the contest and loads of other spells, and apologizes to everyone involved. And of course, she steals Tammy's thunder as she tries to show off her stolen hot mess costume. Finally, we find out who's been stealing Bob's pumpkins. None other than Mr. Fishodor, played by Kevin Kline. And by the way, they could not have picked a better voice actor for this character, in my opinion. The episode ends with the family visiting Fishodor's Jack-O-Land, a light show of sorts of jack-o'-lanterns that Fishodor stole. Because, well, they look so much less pathetic there than on Bob's sidewalk. Next, at number 4, we have Nightmare on Ocean Avenue Street. This episode starts off with the kids excited for the first annual Ocean Avenue Candy Crawl in the hopes of getting tons of Sticky Sugar Booms, the new hit candy. But instead of handing out the popular candy, Bob is handing out Dr. Peter's Bitter Drops, which is just so fitting to his character. We're also introduced to the subplot with the adults as Teddy asks Bob if he can decorate the front of the restaurant to compete with the handyman who's decorating the storefront next door. I guess you could call it a peeing race.
Another one of you peeing races.
Then we get some classic Belcher children costumes. Jean as Andre 3000 the Giant, Louise as Dragon with a Girl Tattoo, and finally, perhaps my favorite, Tina as None of Your Business. Then we get a classic Bob and Linda moment.
And that's her costume. Do you seriously not get it?
No, I got it. I get it.
What is it then?
She's a nun. She's a cranky nun.
What about the briefcase?
Well, that's why she's cranky. She's got a lot of work to do.
We also get the burger of the day, My Bloody Kalentine. Gotta love it when kale is involved. As the kids start off on their candy crawl, they see PB&J, Andy, and Ollie, played by the Silverman sisters. They learn that someone in a devil costume stole all of their candy. And then Rudy, dressed as Paul Rudd in I Love You Man, his dad's divorced, reveals that his candy was stolen by an astronaut. And then seasonal guest star Aziz Ansari as Daryl also had his candy stolen. Meanwhile, Teddy almost gives up because the handyman next door put up a bat that flies, but then Bob feels bad for Teddy and wants to help him show up the smug competition. As the kids continue on their candy crawl, someone is stalking them and stealing their bags of candy one by one. So now the kids are off on a quest to find who is stealing the candy. One of the reasons I included this episode is that the animators do an excellent job of setting the tone with small details, such as the subtle orange glow that follows the kids throughout their hunt for the candy thief, almost like a desk lamp in a detective's office, making it feel like we're watching a true crime series. We even get a classic follow that car scene when the kids hop on the city bus.
Bus driver, follow that gorilla.
Then we get back to the adults, where Bob is still helping Teddy with the spider, dressed as Bruce Springsteen, although neither Linda nor Teddy knew who he was. This part I think is particularly hilarious because I dressed up as Bruce Springsteen one year, but people did get who I was. When Linda sees that they have attached chainsaws and knives and other implements of death to this spider, this reveals the sense of humor that Bob and Linda have as a married couple and as parents, which, again, makes this show so believable and lovable. She tells Bob that she's not explaining to the kids that their father died in a chainsaw spider accident.
And if you chop your hands off, I'm not wiping your butt for you. You know our arrangement.
I know our arrangement.
Rightly so, because when they release the spider, it then destroys Glenn's bat. Back at Wonder Wharf, the kids are still searching for the gorilla who took their candy. And another detail that I love here is Louise's bunny ears that just fit seamlessly into the costume. And when the kids spot the gorilla going into Mutilation Mansion, Jean and Tina stay outside because they're too scared to go in, while the other kids go to search for the thief. This sets up another classic Belcher children moment. As Jean and Tina chat outside, they suddenly realize that maybe the kids inside need their help, and of course they save the day, and we find out the candy thief is none other than Dr. Yap, the dentist, who claims that he stole all the candy because the kids keep getting cavities. Now, as an adult, that doesn't really make much sense. You'd think that he would want them to have the cavities so he could get a new boat, but you have to remember, you gotta use kids' logic in Bob's Burgers most of the time, and leave your adult logic at the door. But the writers in this show don't skip a beat, and we are given an explanation as Dr. Yap says this is a common misperception and that cavities are gross. So we're left with another happy ending as the kids save the candy. By the way, is that a young Linda Belcher and Gale? And Teddy makes friends with his nemesis as he blames Bob for the entire mishap. Coming in at number 3 from season 4, Fortnite, or should I say cumin in. Since the episode opens with the burger of the day, the cauliflower's cumin from inside the house burger, which is simply a wonderful way to fit the world's blandest vegetable into a burger. I give it an A-. Bob and Linda are busy working on a Chinese dragon costume for the kids. We're also introduced to Billy Frock in this episode, who can only be described as Louise's psychotic stalker who wants to be just like Louise. Molly Shannon plays this character, and her creepy delivery makes Millie come to life.
Remember? Remember our plan? You don't remember our plan? You be Dust, I'll be Bunny. Dust Bunny!
Meanwhile, the adults are still hard at work on the costume as Teddy insists on Bob playing his Halloween Scream CD. Bob gives in because Linda is panicking since the costume is not even close to being finished. This becomes important as Louise and the other kids make their way to the Belcher's secret fort, which Millie is not allowed to enter. Then we get to take part in Louise's guided tour of the fort. This scene also lends itself to another great line from the kids.
This is Tina's room. You can really feel the insecurity.
Then, as Daryl shows off his carefully crafted map of neighborhoods with houses that give out the best candy, the kids hear someone outside the fort and realize that they are trapped by a truck. Suddenly, they hear Millie outside and, thinking they are saved, ask her nicely to get help. Millie agrees until Louise just can't take it anymore and loses it. And of course, the adults can't hear the kids screaming because of Teddy's CD. As Millie continues to taunt the kids inside the fort, they start losing their minds in true cabin fever fashion. But they aren't the only ones. One of the more hilarious scenes in this episode is when Bob tries to buy more sequins for the costume, and the art store owner keeps calling him Bob Fosse.
I'm not Bob Fosse! I'm making a costume for I'm just taking these. Here's money.
The psychological thriller inside the fort continues as Millie taunts the kids with her candy. Desperate to get out, the kids start turning on each other, including performing interrogation tactics such as burp and blow. Finally, the adults realize that the kids are gone and decide to look in the fort until little Psycho Millie leads them astray. After losing her, Bob and Linda decide the costume is too good to go to waste and go trick-or-treating on their own. Back inside the fort, Daryl tries to save the day by hitting the controls on the truck, but he hits the wrong button and the kids are on pace for getting crushed when Tina suggests they stack heavy pieces of trash. And this is another classic scene where the kids all work together to save the day. And they narrowly escape certain pancaking. Sadly, though, it is too late once they escape and all the houses are going dark. But luckily, Bob and Linda scored plenty of candy for everyone. But the episode doesn't end without the Belcher kids getting their revenge on Millie, pretending they all died in a fort accident. All in all, this episode gives us a well-rounded plot line with lots of opportunities for jokes and lots of character development for later episodes. Since Millie's debut was so well received, she does come back in later episodes. Number 2 on our list is the very first Halloween episode that premiered in Season 3. Full Bars opens with the traditional storefront and exterminator truck bit. We also get the burger of the day, the Jack-O-Lentil burger. That's all right, it was the first Halloween episode. And then we have Teddy insisting that Bob and Linda attend his Halloween party, and despite the fact that Bob RSVP'd a maybe, Teddy insists that they come to the party.
I got 42 maybes, Bob. Who can plan for that?
Then we get the premiere of the kids' costumes, and it doesn't disappoint, as Louise is dressed as Edward Scissorhands. The running with scissors part isn't lost on the adults. Tina is a mommy mummy, and Jean is Queen Latifah from her UNITY phase, which is just classic Jean. The kids also insist that they go alone this year for Halloween, making it impossible for Bob to say no to Teddy's party. But once the kids go out trick-or-treating, they realize that all the candy is gone. Frustrated, the kids decide to go to King's Head Island, where apparently they hand out the best candy. Meanwhile, Bob and Linda show up at Teddy's party, and since Bob is not dressed in a costume, Teddy insists on finding him one. And given Bob's choices between Chewbacca and Summer Frankenstein, he's left with a fat suit, which is just hilarious on its own. Then we get the classic scene where the episode gets its name, and the kids are handed full candy bars at one of the homes. And Louise goes absolutely berserk because the kids simply can't believe that someone's handing out full bars.
Full bars? Full bars? Full bars! She just gave us full sight!
This is the part of the episode that every kid can relate to, and even the adults, as they're the ones that have to buy the candy. Meanwhile, back at Teddy's party, Bob is trying to quietly sneak out when Teddy suddenly yells that someone has stepped on his pet gerbil, Francis. And Teddy says no one's leaving until they figure out who did it, turning this part of the episode into a classic whodunit. The kids go around town trying to find the very best candy until they hear about Hell Hunt, a tradition in which the older kids wait until all the adults are drunk and asleep and they go around terrorizing younger kids, throwing balloons full of pee. This is another classic example of urban legends and every kid's nightmare, getting pranked by the older kids. Back at Teddy's party, things are growing increasingly tense as Teddy starts accusing everyone of killing Francis, which really plays out the murder mystery subplot in this episode. But instead of the does the glove fit argument, Teddy grabs everyone's shoes, seeing if the shoe fits. Back on King's Head Island, the kids witness their first Hell Hunt prank and decide to skip town and head back to the mainland until they hear the kids screaming and decide that they cannot leave their newfound friends with the Hell Hunt pranksters. Another reason I chose this episode is that we get a classic Tina moment, which she gives a heartfelt speech saying that they cannot leave the other kids behind and convincing Jean and Louise to go back to save them. And they come up with one of the best revenge plots in any episode. Louise steals the phone of a girl that one of the teenagers was flirting with and sends him a text telling him that they're going to be skinny dipping in one of the neighbors' pools. When the teenagers strip down to meet the girls who are not going to show up, the kids decide to put hot sauce in their underwear. Then at Teddy's party, it's finally revealed that Bob accidentally killed the pet guinea pig, not gerbil, when he rolled over trying to get the fat suit on. The party ends with a small funeral for Francis and Teddy apologizing for accusing everyone of being murderers. So, another fun adult party ending. The kids' adventure finally ends with everyone getting their revenge, and despite the fact that only one of the teenagers wore underwear, the rest of the King's Head Island kids get their revenge, and the Belcher children return home to Linda telling the story of how Bob killed Francis, and that is the end of the very first Halloween episode. And finally, coming in at number 1, The Haunting. While the burger of the day is a bit lackluster, I picked this one for the top slot mainly because of the premise of the entire episode, which opens with Louise insisting that she cannot be scared, and in fact, she wants what Teddy has.
Ah, get out of here!
See, I want that. I mean, not that exactly.
I can relate to this, as her attitude toward haunted houses is much like my debunking scary ghost videos. But Bob and Linda tell her that they are visiting a very special haunted house that even Jean and Tina didn't know about. Another reason I picked this at number 1 is the guest appearance of our favorite boy band, Boys for Now, who dropped a new Halloween single.
It just dropped today. Don't say dropped.
Drop.
Okay?
And the episode even includes their new music video that pays homage to Thriller. When the Belchers arrive, Louise is already skeptical and quickly gets bored with Bob and Linda's attempt at scaring the kids with the old spaghetti and wet grapes trope. During Bob and Linda's costume change, Louise convinces her siblings to scare the adults, since she is so bored at this point. Linda does get scared since she can't find the kids, and Bob and Linda admit that they cannot create something scary enough for their youngest child. This scene is another reason why I love this show, because it demonstrates the Belcher parents' love for their children in their attempt to accommodate their youngest need to be scared, while also admitting that not everything's possible. However, when they get to the car, Bob realizes that one of their tires is flat and they don't have a spare. His cell phone doesn't have service either, so they're left to go inside to call a tow truck, but not before they see one of the creepy neighbors staring at them, which heightens the creepy factor of this now seemingly haunted house. Everyone heads inside so that Bob can call the tow truck from the landline, and Jean remembers that the parents set this whole thing up using one of Mort's clients' homes. And of course, Mort is a mortician, so Jean suggests the house might actually be haunted. Then they hear a really loud, creepy noise coming from the basement just before the lights go out. At this point, Louise is getting more and more on edge. So the family heads down to the basement to investigate, and they find a ghost. No, they find a cloak when they hear the noise again and run back upstairs. At this point, Louise is legitimately terrified as they keep running into random creepy things within the home and finally are trapped in the bathroom as they hear someone walking up the steps. And this is another great family moment.
Nobody say a word.
Dad.
Yes.
I feel like you're doing a really good job as a dad.
Thank you, Jane.
I'm having a good childhood.
Okay, great.
Not right now, but overall.
I got it.
When they realize that there's no escape except out the window, the entire family crawls out onto the roof. And then Louise screams with fright until she realizes it's all a setup. There are so many reasons that this episode works really well, and one of those reasons is that the entire family was in on it. Even the flat tire and the creepy noise came from Mort and Teddy, who reveal themselves at the end of the episode, and Louise is very happily horrified. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel grow up big and strong just like the Belcher kids.